I don't like to say this stuff because I don't want to be like flashy, but the first assignment fee was more than what I would make in a month selling and managing a sales and marketing team in a 9-to-5 job. The amount of time I put into getting that first deal, I could have taken the entire month off. I spent 1 week worth of time getting that deal and made more than I made in a month at a 9-to-5 job.
The DealMachine REI podcast. Everything you need to know to get started in real estate investing.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the very first episode of the DealMachine Real Estate Investing podcast, where you're going to learn everything you need to know to start investing in real estate. So we're going to be your two hosts. My name is David, and I've got a handful of rental properties that I started with my very first house in 2017. And I've been able to amass almost $1 million in equity and $100,000 a year in cash flow. And I started with about $4,500. And over here on the other side with Ryan, he's actually somebody who started in 2019. He heard about a 30-day real estate investing wholesaling challenge. We'll explain what that is in a second. But he found his first deal in 14 days, which was amazingly fast. And then he went on to do 70 deals in his first year, and he made a lot of money doing this thing called wholesaling and has now acquired rentals as well. And he runs the business with his wife, Meg, in St. Joseph, Missouri. And also, I think you guys have not quite breached 400 deals, but you have almost gotten there. You've done a lot of deals. Tell me if that's right, Ryan.
That you're right. Yeah, we've done since 2019. We've done. It's been incremental. We went from, it was 73 the first year, 92 the second year, third year. I don't know the exact numbers, but I do know that the landscape of our business has changed quite dramatically, because year one, it was like just wholesale and what that was. And now it's a complete business. It's a real estate investment company, and it's a lot different and a lot more fun. Like, we have a ton of fun doing it every single day. It's a complete shift from what it was like getting from the get-go. But we've had tremendous success in it and have had a lot of fun doing it.
I can certainly tell. And one of the favorite tidbits I've heard from the work that you've done in St. Joe, Missouri, is the reaction from some of the city staff. And I think it was the mayor himself who maybe off the cuff called you the golden child of St. Joe because of the way that you've actually cleaned up these rundown houses that were an eyesore for the city that they didn't know what to do with. Is that right?
Yeah. It's kind of funny, but yeah, that was the nickname. I walked in, I don't even remember what I was going in there for. I was going in there to talk about a property, and he says, "Oh, there's the golden child of St. Joe." And so that was a feather in the cap.
I love it. Well, why don't you tell us, for those listening, that's what the podcast is. That's who we are as hosts. And we'll get into in this episode a bit more about how we started, so that you can really see yourselves and maybe see some similarities into each of our different stories, so that you can see a clearer path on how you can build not only I don't want to call it a job. First of all, you can work on something that makes you really, really happy, that can earn you some money, that can help you start investing and saving for your future, potentially escape the rat race, so to speak, if you're in a job and you don't want to always have to work if you don't need to. And so all those topics, I think that you'll hear from our stories, and you'll see similarities and be able to pick that out and find a clearer path for yourself. So that's our goal with this podcast. And I'd love to start by asking you, Ryan, if you could just walk us back to how you got started into real estate investing. Take us back to before you did that first deal.
Yeah, I had spent most of my career, or all my career at that time, had been in sales. I worked for Foot Locker and for Champs selling shoes. I went from there to a call center where we were doing debt collections or sales for DirecTV. I moved on from that position to running the sales and marketing department for a fiber optic internet company. And I think with every job, you have things that you like and you dislike, and things change. And I think over the course of my career, I had a lot of fun in the sales. The thrill of the sale is something that excites me and I have fun doing. Leading a team is also something that excites me and I have fun doing. And at the end of, or really kind of beginning of 2019, things in the fiber optic world had started to shift. People had started to change roles. New people were coming into the company. And that just kind of started shaking the foundation of what I had there. And I think that most salespeople could relate to what we call the sales haircut, in a sense where you're doing really well, but they feel like you're doing too well. And so then it's like the haircut is, oh, we're going to change your pay. So that had happened, and other things had happened in that position. Megan was very close to term with our third child. And in October, that's when Abe, the babe, was born. And he, after that moment, the lead up to that moment was, there was a lot of stress involved. There was a lot of just unsure what my job was going to look like, unsure what my pay was going to look like. And like the sleepless nights, the long 70 to 80 hour work weeks, not seeing the family, that kind of thing, that was not what I envisioned my life to look like. That's not what I wanted to be as a father. I didn't want to just be the guy that's coming and going. I see you in the morning, I see you at night, but there's no relationship there. That's not what I wanted. And so that began the conversation of, well, what do we do next? And right at about the time Abel was born, which is really not the greatest timing to walk away from a 9-to-5 job, where you have the secure insurance, you have a base salary, at least you have the warm blanket of a 9-to-5 job or a W-2 job. Not a great time to put the warm blanket away, but that was the card that we were dealt. And Megan had found a Max Maxwell 30-day wholesaling challenge.
Fast fact.
Wholesaling, for those that don't know, is a strategy where you can make $20,000 doing a week's worth of work in some cases for finding a really great real estate deal, and then not even need to close on it yourself, but pass that deal off to somebody like a hedge fund or a house flipper who has cash that would love to close on that amazing real estate deal. And then you just charge them what's called an assignment fee. So you have it under contract and you can assign the contract, meaning that they can take your spot on that contract to buy it at the price that you have it under contract for, and then you can get paid an assignment fee for finding that deal. So let's say if the house is worth $500,000 and you get it under contract for $400,000, you could charge whatever assignment fee you and the flipper or the hedge fund agree on, could be even as big as $50,000. But an average starter assignment fee might be like $5,000, and then average across the country for somebody who's done a few deals, maybe $15,000 or $20,000.
I never knew anything about wholesaling or what it was. But she's seen it. She's like, you should do this. And she explained it a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, doesn't sound interesting. I don't really think I'm interested in it. And then part of the wholesaling challenge was you had to have a Facebook account. And I was kind of anti-social media, kind of anti-Facebook. And so that was like the nail in the coffin. No, I'm definitely not doing it. But she prodded and pushed and eventually got that commitment out of me. And so we started doing the wholesaling challenge, and in 14 days, we secured our first transaction. And then we went on to do 73 deals, and the thrill of the sale kicked in, and it was fun. But then, over time, you start realizing, okay, this also isn't sustainable to do this many deals, because it quickly becomes a job. So then the organic growth of what Heritage Home Investments is now. And it looks way different than what it was when it was just me doing a wholesale deal or 73 of them. Now it's a full scale real estate investment company. So.
Got it. So there were a couple things that you said there. First of all, one of the main reasons why you wanted to get into real estate investing was triggered by getting the sales haircut at work. So you wanted more control over the income you were earning.
Yeah.
And the second thing that you said was you had just had your third child, Abe the babe, and you weren't able to spend as much time with him as you thought you'd like to, because it sounded like work was also cutting into the hours you're able to spend with your family. Is that right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. In the sales world, it typically is like, you look at retail, if you've ever done retail jobs, it is very time consuming. And most, like in this particular job, there was an event every weekend, or, every evening there was always something else that needed to be done. And it was really hard to like set anything down and walk away. You'd go home, the phone would ring all hours of the night. I had a boss that had the expectation that if he called or texted, it didn't matter what time it was, the expectation was to answer the phone. And so I could be laying in bed, putting one of my kids in bed, get a phone call and have to get up. Like that was not what I wanted for my life. Like that's just not where we wanted to be. I didn't want to be a dad that, oh, we got to go and take this call. And then I don't get to lay with them and talk to them about their day and be a part of their life, because we all know that kids grow up really fast and you can live with them every single day. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, he's 9 years old and he's got enough body weight to wrestle me. And that happened. And I don't even know how that happened. It flies by so quickly. So it just that was not the lifestyle that I had envisioned. And so we had to take action and change that course of our life pretty quick. I mean, that was a lot faster than I expected it to happen.
Do you feel like you're able to spend the time that you thought you'd be able to with the business that you've created?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've traveled everywhere together. We've done Disney trip. We've done, just going on vacations. If we're going on a business trip for a event, we go as a family most of the time. There's a couple of them that's just like, this is going to be down and back, so we'll go solo. But we've spent a lot of time. We've had a lot of experiences that I wouldn't have been able to do without this opportunity. But yeah, even at the end of the day, I can be done. I don't need to constantly be checking the phone. Like I've been getting better, which it's always a work in progress, because thrill of the sale, there's some addiction things that you have to focus on. Like the phone could ring from a postcard call and you're like, I want to answer this. But like learning to kind of draw some lines, but being okay to do that because you're the one that makes the rules. Where before it was like the rule was made and determined by someone else and you had to follow it, or, the whole, what you would get in a 9-to-5 job. This is the corrective action for not answering the phone, blah, blah, blah. So this has definitely enabled me to be closer to the dad that I envisioned being. And, I'm still in my mid 30s, so I have a lot of time to accomplish other dad goals. But now I have a platform and the ability to do that without being impeded on by other people and other people's demands.
Love that. And I love that your wife from the very beginning was the one that actually decided to start this, it sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You had to create a Facebook account just to actually take action on what she was trying to get you to do.
Yeah. Yeah. That she told me she would run it. She was like, I'll do the Facebook stuff. You just do the 30-day challenge. And I'm like, okay, that feels like a fair deal. And to this day, she takes care of, I'll make a guest appearance on Instagram every now and then. But for the most part, she runs all the Facebook and Instagram stuff, which is, that's her, artistic or creative niche. Mine's, I like talking to people, and telling stories is fun, but I don't know. Social media is just a challenge for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious, has it changed the way that you and your wife are able to interact? Because before you weren't working with your wife, now you are, right? So you actually get to spend quite a bit more time together.
Oh man, yeah. Like I mean, even the trips, like going on the business trips together, and like being in masterminds together and going and learning together, um, it has changed. I mean, I would go leave the house. I would generally be out of the house by like 7:15 every morning. So I was out of the house before anybody was awake, and then I would get home between 6:45 and 7 on an average, which was right dinner time, bath time, bedtime. So that was the extent of I'd be gone all day. And on occasion, I'd call Megan to check in, see how everybody was doing when I was on, from one appointment to the other. But like when you're in the office, there's the expectation of they don't want you on the phone or keep your phones in your drawers. Even in a management level, that kind of stuff. It's like you would think getting into a management position, you would have a little bit more freedom, and you do. But there was still like this, like weird, like in control. I'm going to control everything you do, so don't have your cell phone out. If we see you on
Yeah.
your cell phone at your desk, it's like, oh, God forbid. I need to call my wife to see how that, all of that's gone. Like that goes out the window. You do spend a lot of time together at home, and you run into all you do is talk about real estate. And on New Year's, you play cash flow games, but it becomes a part of your life and it's fun.
So for those of you who may not know, the cash flow game was something that was really impactful for me and my journey as well. There's a book, many of you have read it. When I am standing in a room and I say, how many real estate investors started with this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? At least 70% of the people raise their hand. So if you haven't read that book, that's a great one to put on your list. There's a companion game that goes with it that's actually a free game online or an actual physical board game, but it's the same game from what I understand. And I played the one online personally. It is
I
like
did not know they
Monopoly,
had
but
an online game. That is,
it's free. Yeah, the board game I think is pretty cool too, but the online one's great. And so you play this during New Year's, and what it taught me was the object of the game is to get out of the rat race. You have opportunities to buy stocks, and the way the stocks work in the game is like you have a stock and it trades between $10 and $40, and let's say it's at $40. It says, "Do you want to buy the stock?" And so you could choose to buy it or not. And later in the game, you might hit a square that says this stock is now worth $10, or vice versa. Or you can buy a rental property, and some of them cash flow and some don't. But essentially, you build up your passive income until your passive income exceeds your living expenses. And then that's whenever you advance in the game. So that's what it taught me, was the concept of cash flow and how that can get you out of the rat race and to get you a little bit more control over some of the things that you were talking about in your life, such as having to put your phone in a drawer at work, which really annoyed you, and having more time with your family and to be able to go on trips. But I'm curious, do you still play that game even now? Because you're kind of playing it in real life.
Oh yeah, dude, we played that game like 3 nights in a row last week.
That's funny.
And a couple of, it's fun, but it can be a very frustrating game because like we all have the knowledge base. Okay, I know how the game works, but I cannot tell you the number of times that I'm like getting put in a very challenging little pickle. And then I'm like, man, I'm not good at this real estate investing game. And then like the next game, I'm like out of the rat race first, and I have all this passive income. I feel like a baller. And then it's cool because you actually can take those game experiences and you can make them like what you're doing in real life. Like, oh my gosh, here's a small opportunity, and here's the cash flow that can go with that small opportunity. And you play the game in real life and it will work.
Yeah.
It teaches you how to evaluate a deal. Like there's so much cool stuff with it. It's like, it's Monopoly, but on steroids.
Yeah, it's inspiring. And one of the ways that you win the game, there's two ways. One of the ways is that you make your passive income like 10 times more than your living expenses. Essentially, you just become really rich and you win. The
Right.
other thing is it's like you get like a big amount of cash flow and then you win. The other way is like once you get out of the rat race, then you can choose one of your dreams. And they have 20 dreams. And the dream I always liked the most was take 10 of your friends, 20 of your friends on an African safari, all expenses paid. And today, I think that would cost probably 10,000 per person. So if I took 10 friends, it'd be like $100,000. So that could be another way that you win the game is you build up your passive income and then you land on that opportunity to make that happen. And I always thought that would be a really amazing goal of mine in real life to go take 10 of my friends to do that. And it's helpful to expand your mind on what's actually possible. And I haven't done that yet. I don't feel like I'm
I was going
quite
to
at the
ask if
moment to do that.
am I on that list of the 10 that's going?
Yeah, I think you're definitely on the list. Absolutely. And
Let's go.
if you guys are listening to this, I would love to hear some feedback on if you have any amazing ideas, because I always get inspired by hearing these. What's your dream that you would have to have the money plus also the alignment of the opportunity to make it happen? I would love to hear that. And you can tweet me at tweeting David, or on the Spotify platform, there's a comment section. So would love to hear from you guys either of those ways. And Ryan, before we transition, because I did want to share a little bit about my story. One of the things I think is so unique about you is that you've done a lot of wholesale deals and you use that to build up a lot of cash. And so you've done more deals than me for sure. But sometimes people can also learn from somebody who's done less deals, again, is what I tell myself. And so I wanted to get into that just briefly to show what can be done at a smaller scale as well. But was there anything else that you wanted to say before we wrapped up your part of the story?
No, I just think that it's important for everybody that's listening, whatever your motivator is or your why, whatever you're in this journey or why, whatever reason you're listening to this podcast, I hope that if anything, you can take away that if you're in a position where you want to change the trajectory of your life and your income, that I'm hoping that my story, I'm hoping that David's story is a motivator to help get you there. And I hope that we can give you the proper steps to get you there, because it was not what I expected my life to be, but I can stand here 3 years later and say, man, that changed my life. And it wasn't like I didn't have to go to college for 10 years to figure out how to do this. Like there wasn't a ton of studying that I had to do, but it's a task that people can do, and we want to help you get there. So I think that would be the only thing, but I'm excited to hear, David, about yours because what you have done has impacted what I've done. So I want to hear it. I want to hear how you got there.
There's one piece I wanted to ask you before we moved on to was that is a very, very fast timeline that you succeeded at.
Yeah.
I think one thing that I'm curious about genuinely is how the heck did you get a deal in 14 days? Because it took me, I think, at least 9 months in order from the moment I was like, I'm going to do this, and I started taking action. And then the moment where I actually did that deal, it took me probably 9 months. And I'm really curious, in your mind, what did you do that made you so successful so quickly?
Well, the first deal was the outlier deal. The first deal was the deal that it is part of the whole of the 30-day challenge, and you're telling people what you're doing. Like, hey, I'm investing in real estate. I'm looking for distressed properties. And that conversation led to, hey, I know of a distressed property. The guy wants to sell it. It was a fire damaged house, and he just wants to get rid of it. And so I knew that person. And so reaching out to them made the conversation a little bit easier, because I'm like, hey, so-and-so told me that you have a house that was fire damaged that you want to sell. and I am in a position where I'm looking to acquire properties that are distressed and need work. And so that's how that first deal came about. After that, part of the wholesaling challenge was getting a marketing routine set and sending postcards and cold calling and doing those things. And that's what set up the snowball of the 72 deals after that were all because of what we had accomplished in the 30-day wholesaling challenge and what we had done using certain apps. I'll let you talk about that. But yeah, that first deal was it was a conversation, telling somebody, hey, this is what I'm doing. And they just happened to know somebody that had that exact thing that I was looking for.
Got it. So for those of you that don't know what wholesaling is a great way to start in real estate investing because it doesn't require that you have money to actually buy the house. You spend some time having conversations like Ryan did to find a house that's run down. And when it's run down, typically they'll provide you a discount greater than what it would cost you to actually fix it up. And they do that because they may not have the time or money to fix it up themselves, and they may need the cash. So they'll provide you a discount, and then you as the real estate investor provide them speed and convenience to be able to get it under contract and close. Now, did you actually wholesale this house or did you actually buy it?
Yeah, we wholesaled this house.
Okay.
And the whole process, I mean, I think it was ended up being a 30-day, but we got it under contract in 14. And then by the time it had closed right before Christmas. So we were on that line of, we need to make this much money every month in order to supplement our income. And December, right around Christmas, was that first. And I don't like to say this stuff because I don't want to be flashy. I try to avoid appearing that way. But the first assignment fee was more than what I would make in a month selling and managing a sales and marketing team in a 9-to-5 job. And the amount of time I put into getting that first deal was I could have taken the entire month off. I spent 1 week worth of time getting that deal and made more than I made in a month at a 9-to-5 job.
Wow.
That was a game changer.
Can you say that one more time just to make sure I heard you correctly? You said
one deal, I made more on one transaction than I made in an entire month in a 9-to-5 job.
Got it. And how much was that deal? How much was that fee?
I think $8,500 was our very first assignment fee.
That's excellent.
It was amazing.
I have a lot of questions.
That was a game changer.
I'm going to enjoy diving deeper into this deal further, but for now, I just want to dip the toes into what's possible. And I think that was really, really impressive. And there's more to unpack there for sure. I wanted to say, for me, I've actually never wholesaled a property in my entire life. So I always like hearing about the wholesaling stories. I'm going to ask you some questions. I've been around a lot of wholesalers though, and probably 10,000 people, the last time I checked, have used an app I created to close deals, many of them being wholesale deals. So I've been around wholesaling quite a lot since 2016, since I wrote the first line of code for this app, and have been working on it ever since. The whole reason why I made the app was a mistake. It wasn't really meant to be a business at all, even though it turned into a very nice one. For me, I would say my journey started back in high school. I noticed that certain kids had these really nice cars. I'm thinking of one in particular. It was like an MR2 Spider. It was shiny and blue and new. And I actually had a car too, which I'm very thankful for. I didn't even have to pay for it. It was a 96 Chevy Lumina. And it was very, very nice to have that. But I was like, how do these other kids have these really nice sports cars? I mean, I just think that is so cool. And I had that question a lot. And that started me thinking about what are some ways of thinking that got them there, or their parents there, and how could I apply that and learn that? Because I'm motivated by just wanting to experience that type of stuff. I know you said you're not too flashy. I'm not too flashy either, but I might be a little more flashy than you. I do like stuff. And I think sometimes stuff itself provides an experience. And I like that.
And
That's
that's
definitely
okay.
been
It's
a
totally
motivation
cool to
for
be
me.
that way too. Like, I mean, now in the world, it's like you become a little bit more open to things that you didn't think were possible. So
Right.
that I think
And
that
that's inspiring.
I've
That's
definitely
exciting to
changed
me.
that way. Yeah, for sure. It's huge. Like it gives you a different opportunity, and you get to do different things that you didn't think you'd have a chance to do. So I mean,
Hmm.
it's cool. I like that
Well,
you're a little flashier than me.
I appreciate that. I always try to tell it with a story as well, to share more than just the flash, so somebody can take something away from that. But that got me thinking, and I was very interested in how do I advance my career at the time. And I was very turned on to the idea of investing. And so as soon as I went to college to become an engineer, my band teacher had actually given me a copy of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that changed a few things about how I think. And I knew that time was on my side if I could just start funneling money into investments. And I was doing like a Roth IRA with like a, stocks at the time. That eventually I would reach a point where maybe I could retire a little bit early. After some years, I had gotten a job and was still trying to funnel that money away. But my boss at the time, he had rental properties. And I said, why do you have rental properties instead of, my world was like, hey, I'm just trying to put this money in this IRA and these stocks. And what he said always stuck with me. He said that if you manage the rental properties well, they will always cash flow, unlike the stock market where you have little control over if it goes up or down. And so I thought about that, and I still think about that to this very day, because that was an impactful statement that he probably didn't even realize. And eventually, I actually decided that I was going to go looking for a rental property after playing that cash flow game. So I have like the first property that I got was a primary residence. And, I was looking for my first like wholesale deal. I felt uneasy about the process because I had never done a transaction. So I was like, wait a minute, instead of renting, why don't I just go buy a house? I'm a single person and rent out 3-4 of the bedrooms. So that's exactly what I did. My living expenses got reduced to zero. I made a little income because I rented each of those individual bedrooms. So that was my first real estate deal. And I still have that property today.
Nice.
Thanks. Yeah. And then I've got like 9 properties total, and I couldn't really find any more great deals in terms of how I was evaluating a deal, which was like I wanted to find a property that was going to cash flow, like we discovered in that game. It's like so important to escaping the rat race. So I went to some meetups, and at the meetups, they told me in order to find great deals, you can't just look at what's available on the market. And I was like, oh, that makes sense because I haven't been finding anything.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was comparing what you could purchase it for and what it would rent for. And it wasn't going to cash flow. And so they said, you need to find these deals that are off market. You need to find properties that are run down, and they called it driving for dollars. And so what driving for dollars is you drive around in your car, you look for rundown properties, just like the fire damage one you mentioned. And then you get in touch with the owner and say, would you be interested in selling your house? I can close quickly and with cash, and, have a great day. Text me or call me if you're interested. And so I did that. My goal was to get to about 200 properties, and I did send mail to those properties. But I missed out on one that could have been an amazing deal because I didn't follow up. Like I had written the address down a month ago, but I never followed up. And I saw somebody was out there working on it. So that inspired me to go look up who actually owned it. And I saw that it had just changed hands, and it was just bought at a price that could have made sense for me. Would have been an amazing first deal. So my stomach just dropped. I was like, oh, I've put in so much time, and this could have been my opportunity, but I just didn't take the action to follow through with it. So it wasn't a deal for me. So that was a setback for sure.
Yeah, it happens.
but one that inspired me to solve my follow-up issue, which was now instead of writing it down, I just want to like pin it in an app and have the app look up who owns it and then have a piece of mail sent out automatically, which is why I started DealMachine and how that got started, and very much like what it is. It does a lot more, but basically it just is a system to help you, identify these distressed homes and get in touch with homeowners to see if they'd like to sell their house to you. And so long story short, I think we've definitely helped people close 10,000 deals in all 50 states, which has been amazing. I went on to go get some more really amazing properties. And again, to this date, I've had 9 rental properties. So they're like the total value is like 1.6 million. And I've got about almost $1 million in equity there and over $100,000 in rental income per year. And so I'm really excited to talk about some of the deals I did where I was able to acquire a rental with like no money down 4 or 5 times. And that's really changed my life and given me a lot of stability and confidence that, my living expenses will always be covered as long as that portfolio is managed correctly at a basic level, right? That would provide food, shelter for me. And so later in the podcast, we'll be excited to break down some of those deals and how I was able to do that. And I think we'll start to put some puzzle pieces together for those listening who want to achieve some of the things that you've achieved, right? More control in their lives and using real estate as a way to do that.
Yeah. Yep. That'd be the ultimate goal for us to be able to inspire other people to do it, because it is doable, and sometimes you just need a 30-day wholesaling challenge to change your life. So,
right. Which is a great segue into what we're going to talk about on the rest of these podcast episodes. So you and I brainstormed a little bit about how we're going to tackle and lead people through some actionable steps in the next 10 episodes. And so I'm going to read a few of those. We're going to talk about how to get started. We're going to talk about, how to analyze the deal, what types of deals are good, how you can do this with little money of your own, or if you've got a W-2 job and you want to funnel into rental properties, again, analyzing the deals will help you select really great properties. And if you want to find the best deals, we'll talk about getting your own deals that are not listed for sale using direct mail, answering phone calls when people call you back, what to say when you're on an appointment, and how to estimate renovation costs. And if you're going to wholesale, like how do you find that end buyer that you actually sell the property to or assign the contract to? So we'll explain more about that and take a $8,500 fee in 14 days like you did.
Yes.
As just a taste of some actionable steps that we're going to walk you through. And so with that, I think this is a really great time to wrap this episode up. Ryan, was there anything else that you wanted to leave anyone listening with before we go?
No, I'm super grateful that you're taking the time out of your day to listen to this, and our goal is to hopefully inspire you to take some steps to get to your goals. So I hope that our stories and experiences can help you get there.
So that's the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Thank you for listening. And if you've got any comments, tweet at Tweeting David or on Spotify in the comments section. Would love to hear what you thought of our very first episode. We really, really appreciate your support. And if there's one thing, if you got any value from this at all, would really love to hear your review of our podcast. That helps so much, especially as we're starting something brand new. We've got a goal to get 100 reviews, and we want your honest reviews. So please, whatever the review is, if you want to take a moment and let us know, we'll use that to make this even better and to help you along on your journey. And with that, we will talk to you later. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Yeah.
See you next time.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.